everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. It is the first book in Brandon Sanderson's epic fantasy, The Stormlight Archives. So as far as we know, this series is actually supposed to be 10 total books, but it's like part 1 and part 2. So part 1 concludes with his 5th book that is coming out this December. Part 2 is going to be the next 5 books from my current understanding. That could change, but Brandon does a really good job of updating his fandom with weekly updates. He also has like a announcement that he gives. So I watched it for the first time this year, and really it's called The State of Sanderson, basically. So he goes through like what good things are going on, what happened. He reads what his department heads have written, with what has gone on there during that year for them, the big projects that they did, plus some upcoming projects. So that's where he touched on some rough timelines for certain books. It sounds like after the 5th book, it's gonna be a while for part 2. So buckle up. It's a good thing these are 1,000+ pages, these books are, because I'm telling you, we're gonna have to reread them several times before part 2 even starts coming out. So straight on to Way of Kings. First off, Brandon Sanderson is just a phenomenal writer. He has great world building and great character development. So let's talk about his world building first. So his world building, like, it literally, how do I say this? It's not boring. Like, there's some authors that will literally describe every grain of sand or crack in the rock or thread in like their clothes. Now granted, I'm being exaggerate, but that's what it feels like for some authors. But Brandon does it in a way that keeps you intrigued and wanting to learn more. So like Roshar, we really only get to know the world where Dalinar, Kaladin, Shalon, and I believe it's Zaz. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Seth. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Szeth. So I'm gonna say Seth. But really, you only get a little bit from Szeth, because he's only in the prologue and he's only in the interludes. You actually don't get a full POV of him. You know what I mean? So like this book fully focused, in my opinion, on Kaladin. Kaladin was in every single part, but it flip-flopped between Kaladin and Shalon, Kaladin and Dalinar's son, Adolin. And like getting to know these characters, granted, we've just scratched the surface of them. And as I read more into this series, you're gonna find out more and more. My favorite character is probably Shalom. And that is just because of her and Jasna, however you say it. What they are kind of studying. So obviously something in this book, something's going on with Shalom. She doesn't quite understand it, nor does she really figure it out or partly figure it out until the ending. But then Jasna brings her into what she is studying and says, you know, you've got to make a choice. You can dive deep in this with me, or you can go back home. And Shalom decides to study with Jasna because really studying, being a scholar, is her calling. So, and to be quite fair, her studying this is also going to help her family in a way. Just because the butler that they had, he's part of this group that really went to try and kill Jasna. So I'm sure we'll find out more about that in Words of Radiance, which I really do need to pick up soon. But let's move over to Kaladin. Kaladin is a very intricate character. You can tell that he's got guilt. And you can see kind of where that guilt is been brought, just because we get flashbacks for Kaladin on when he was a kid, studying under his dad. So his dad wanted him to be a surgeon. And originally Kaladin was like, no, I want to be a soldier. I want to go to war. I want to get glory. But as we read through the flashbacks, you see that he comes to terms with, okay, you can't save everyone, but if I become a surgeon and I learn, I have a better opportunity to save. Especially when his dad says that you can't save people from killing. Killing is killing. You don't save people from killing. But then we find out there was this mystery too on why Kaladin became a slave. It's like, did he really do something? He doesn't seem like the type of character that would do something, you know what I mean? Come to find that he killed a shard bearer. And so shard bearers, they have shard plate, and some of them have blades, a shard blade. If you kill a shard bearer, you get their plate and you get their blade. Well, Kaladin killed one when he was in the original army on stopping border skirmishes. And I forget what the general's name is, but Kaladin did not want the shard plate. He originally dreamed about getting it, but he decided he did not want it. He wanted to give it to one of his squad mates, especially since he just saw his brother die. And he joined the army to help bring his brother home. So then comes to find that the general decided to kill his entire squad, what was left of them anyway, and brand Kaladin as a slave so people don't believe that he actually beat a shard bearer and that the general stole his shard plate and sword. So it's like, that's where his distrust of Light Eyes are. And let's digress a little bit. You have Light Eyes and you have Dark Eyes. And in Alethea, I think that's how you pronounce it, people with light eyes rule. People with dark eyes do not. But you can be a high-ranking dark eyes. You just don't have the power of a light eyes. So because of what that general did to Kaladin, Kaladin does not trust light eyes. He specifically works to help the dark eyes. So Kaladin gets sold to the Shattered Plains, and he gets put in Sidaeus's camp. And Sidaeus is one of the high princes, and there's I forget the number of high princes, but there's a good number of high princes, and they don't work together. They don't get along very well. I mean, the closest high princes that get along are Sidaeus and Dalinar, and even that is a little rocky. But their same goal is to protect the king, which is Dalinar's nephew. So back to Sidaeus's camp, he uses bridge crews. So basically, he has these slaves pick up a bridge, take it to the Shattered Plains, and make sure, and these bridges are set for his forces to cross. But then these bridge crews have to push it into place, go across, drag it, and then pick it back up, and then do it again for another crevice. These crevices are huge. But these bridge crews are also used as bait for the Palendi, I believe is the pronunciation. And the reason that there is a war between Alethi and the Palendi is because they had an assassin in white, who we come to find is Seth, kill the now king's father, Dalinar's brother. So they want vengeance. They want to kill this race because they killed their king. And so Kaladin, he is forced into this camp, working, being a bridge crew person, whatever. But at first, he's very depressed. And you kind of see him get in depression, out of depression, back in depression through this book. And I'm sure there's going to be more difficult conversations and difficult times ahead for Kaladin, but we will see that probably in the next few books, because he still has that guilt from his brother dying, from multiple people that he said he would protect, but it didn't matter. Like, for him, they called him Stormblessed because it didn't matter. He'd always lived through everything. And nobody, including Kaladin, had no idea why. Well, Kaladin also has a Spren that really has become animated, because Spren in this world, you have different Spren. You have Fire Spren, you have Wind Spren, Water Spren, Rot Spren, like you name it, you've got Spren for it. And Spren are just creatures of this world. Well, there is one Spren, and I believe it's a Wind Spren. She, we call her in the book Syl, she starts to remember things. As she stays closer and closer to Kaladin, and like things happen in the book, and then she gets more and more intelligent. And I believe she has something to do with the Radiance, the Knights Radiant, which we learn a little bit about in this book. So the Knights Radiant used to be an order that would protect the mortals, basically, from Voidbringers. But then all of a sudden one day, the Knights Radiant disappeared. And the Knights Radiant, these were mortals who were gifted powers of certain things. And there's different orders, and we don't know the full, we didn't learn really what those orders are in this book. So hoping to learn more about that in the next few books. But Kaladin has gained some power, kind of like what we see from Seth. But he doesn't have a spren that follows him, as far as we know right now. So we'll come to find more out about Kaladin and probably Seth. But I'm very intrigued on his character development and his power development in the next few books. So let's talk about Dalinar now. Dalinar is a high prince. He's got a son, Adolin, and he's got another son that starts with an R, but I can't really remember his name, nor can I probably pronounce it. But Dalinar is having these dreams, and it's only when these high storms happen, and he doesn't know how to take these dreams. He's read this book. Now, granted, he hasn't read it. He's had a woman read it to her. So in this world, women read, women write, men don't do that. They do more manly things, I guess you could say, where the women take care of, like, they do the painting, they read, they write, they're mathematicians, like that kind of stuff. Not saying that a man can't be a scholar in this book, because there has been mention of scholars, but they obviously would have an assistant, in my opinion, unless they're reading, I think they call them glyphs in this, because men in this world can read glyphs, which are just symbols. So, but back to Dalinar. He's read The Way of Kings. He's read it multiple times, trying to understand his brother's last words. And so he doesn't know how to take these dreams. He wants to believe him. He wants to try to get the High Princes together, but he's like, people think that he's going insane. Like, he's not fit to rule anymore because he has these fits. And his son Adolin thinks that he's going crazy as well. But Adolin doesn't want to take up the high princedom because, in his opinion, he's not ready yet. But his dad keeps going back and forth, like, do I give it up? Do I abdicate because I am going crazy? Comes to find out that really he's not. That these dreams do mean something and he's not going crazy. He also, like, finally, like, tells the king, basically, he's like, you're too fucking paranoid. You did this to yourself. I can't believe you did this. And you're gonna make me warlord, whatever, and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that and you're gonna like it. And the king's like, okay, basically. But we really learn that Dalinar, he wants to stop the war. They've been away from home too long, and he's worried that things are going wrong in the city. So he wants to end the war so he can get back home and they can take care of stuff there. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of that in the next one, since he's now like High Prince of War or something, and figuring all that out. Well, come to find too that the last big battle, so Dalinar and Sidaeus decide, like, they they were working together. So like Dalinar, he doesn't like to kill innocent lives or just have life as it means nothing. So he does not agree with Sidaeus' tactics. But that's why Dalinar's group is very slow, because they have a different way of crossing the crevices. Well, so what they've decided is that they'll do some teamwork. Sidaeus will go get there quick, try to hold everything off, and then Dalinar will get there and finish the battle. Well, they were winning a bunch of battles, they were getting a bunch of gemstones out of these creatures, whatever. Well, then there's a huge creature at the end on one of the bigger plains, and we come to find that Sidaeus betrays Dalinar. And so Dalinar and his son, like, and all of their men, they're literally on death row. Like, there's no hope, not at all, whatever. Well, Kaladin and his bridge crew, they go back, they help, they figure it out. Kaladin uses his powers or whatever, and like, they get Dalinar, his son, and everybody who's not dead to safety. And so Dalinar's like, whatever you want, I will help. And so basically Dalinar takes all the bridge crews from Sidaeus. And there was a little bit of a riff or whatever. And we don't know the whole like reason why Sidaeus wanted to get rid of Dalinar yet. At least if we did, I don't remember it. Because it's been a couple months since I finished this book. I'm just now getting around to reviewing it. But I'm sure it'll give me a reminder in the next book if it was mentioned. I just don't remember what it was. Well, Dalinar ends up giving him his shard blade, because Sidaeus has shard plate, but he doesn't have a shard blade. So Dalinar gives Sidaeus his shard blade for Kaladin's bridge crew and all the bridge crews. And Sidaeus says yes. Which, I mean, Sidaeus like yells at him or something or whatever. I'm like, well, it don't mean anything, and you're just too cowardly, or you're insane or something. I don't know. So that's when Dalinar kind of like blows up and goes to the king and does what he does. So I'm very intrigued to see Dalinar's progression, how it changes, if he gets any more dreams, that kind of thing. I didn't really talk much about Shallan, but Shallan is a very interesting character as well. So originally she tries to find Jasnah to switch out the soul caster, because her father had one, it broke. She needs Jasnah's to help her family, because if not, her family's going to be ruined, because they're going to lose their title, they're going to lose their lands, because they're not making any money. Well, she learns more and more about Jasnah and certain things that are going on, and then she's starting to see things, and she doesn't know what's going on. So that's where at the end she's decided that, you know, the best way to help my family is to do this. And so that's why she's decided to stay with Jasnah and study. Now, Jasnah originally did like kick her to the curb because she did steal her soul caster. But, you know, Shallan basically talked her into, don't kick me out, blah, 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 whatever. But Jasnah still gave her the choice, like, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to do it or not? So I'm very intrigued about Shallan. Very intrigued about her. But I really really did enjoy this book. It's very well paced. Like I said, Brandon does a great job of keeping you intrigued. And even though this is 1,000 pages long, like, you don't really think it's taking you forever to read it because the pacing's so good and because Brandon literally keeps you entertained the entire time. Like, there was not a POV that I was like, oh, really? I have to read them. I enjoyed reading every single POV. I enjoyed reading all the interludes, which the interludes I know mean something. I just haven't figured out that yet. So hopefully in the next couple books, I will figure out what those interludes mean. But I'm very looking forward to diving more into this world, learning it, and I'm probably going to have to reread these books at least 3 or 4 times to really understand. Because, I mean, the first read through, you're not really going to understand it. You're going to understand the plot to a point, but there's going to be things that you miss. And I guarantee you I've missed a ton of stuff. So I can't wait to do my first full read through of the Stormlight Archives and then reread these multiple times. Like, I cannot wait. So overall, I don't remember if I gave this a 5 stars. If I didn't, I'm going to go back and give it a 5 stars because this is just a masterpiece. It is full of fantasy, full of political, like, scheming and just everything. And I love Brandon Sanderson. I don't think there is anything that he can write that is not good, but that's just my opinion. Let me know if you've read The Way of Kings and what you thought of it. And let me know how far you are in the Stormlight Archives. No spoilers in the comments for me, please, because I want to be surprised. This was kind of spoiler filled, not like fully into detail, but I will still claim the spoilers. But yeah, thank you guys for clicking on my video. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and be good people.
When you feel it's hopeless, when you think that you